Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Tyria then. We're coming at you with episode 29.
Here we are, 29.
Hi, Miko.
Hi, Aaron.
I have some great news. Some great
What's that?
Tyria then news.
Oh,
Our channel, Tyria Now,
yeah.
just recently hit 250 subscribers on YouTube.
Woohoo! That's
Um,
pretty amazing.
yeah, well, there's been
Um,
several milestones where I've claimed that we are now a real show. But I think this one is the
the
true.
real deal.
Yeah, I think this one is the true descriptor of making us a quote real show.
Yeah, I think considering where our channel had been after our old podcast, um, I think we definitely it's nice that people are interested in hearing us talk about the Guild Wars story and are enjoying it. So that's great.
Yeah, I think because for a small history lesson on the Tyria Now channel, at the top of the episode here, we used to kind of just get on Twitch and whine about Guild Wars 2 for 2 hours. And it turns out it turns out that's not the like most pleasant listening experience on the planet Earth. It was very funny, but
It was. We did have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, but we would talk about news, like what was going on, like recent news out of the studio and in the community, plus, talking about the story. But definitely we had the most fun, I think, when we talked about the story, even when we whined about it.
yeah,
Um,
well, because on the Tyria Now podcast, there would always be some sort of balance patch, and you'd be like, "We got to talk about it,"
yeah.
and I'd be like, "I don't care about the balance patch,"
No,
and
yeah.
then
It's
and
like,
then we'd go through it, and you could tell on the show that I was considering opening the window behind me and leaping out of it. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I much prefer just playing Guild Wars at my own pace and then talking
Yeah.
about it every 2 weeks. That's a
Yeah.
lot more fun.
Yeah. It is a lot more fun. I think that our enjoyment is coming through because we are having a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, this shows a good time. It shows because we've been doing this for over a year and we're still at it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, welcome to episode 29, everybody. For that brief aside at the top, the plot of the show actually kind of, or not of the show, but of the game Nightfall, actually kind of
Yes.
starts this episode.
Yes, it does.
This episode is very plot heavy, whereas the first two episodes are kind of they're set up. They're like the pre-plot, right? They're the world
Mhm.
building that sets up the story to begin.
Yes.
If that makes any level of sense, which it probably doesn't.
Right.
What has happened so far in Gilder's Nightfall, Miko?
So we have joined the Sun Spears and have been ranking up in the military ranks. We've gotten to know a bit of the Istan area, and we've started to learn about some of the, if you want to call it, internal Elonian politics, the different groups that are around. We know that the Vabians are around. Today, in this episode, we'll start talking about Cornins because we meet some of the Cornins from that region of Elona. And we've been learning that, well, one, the plant life and the bug life, they're all a bit on steroids in Elona, and we're not really sure why. And people are from other regions are coming to Istan kind of to try to do some trade, also to escape whatever's happening in their own home regions.
Is
And we're
Stan
not really
really
sure why yet.
blurring the lines between flora and fauna
Yeah. Yeah.
with these
So,
living plants that want to kill you?
yes. So that's where we are. We've just kind of been getting to know the vibe of Istan, and while we've been leveling up as a Sun Spear, and it leads us to today, where we are now, where we're getting into in this episode.
Very much so. And one thing I was kind of just like ruminating on comparing the beginning of Factions with the beginning of Nightfall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I actually think they're pretty dead on similar in
Mm-hmm.
how they start. They both start the game off with like a mystery that
Mm-hmm.
kicks off, as far as the missions go, that kicks off fairly rapidly. Um, Nightfall has a little bit more of a slow burn in getting you into the actual plot of the game. Factions gets you there
Yeah.
a little bit faster. But
Hmm.
I would say we also have been taking Nightfall in smaller chunks. So
Yeah.
it's been a little bit slower getting started for us on the episodes. But I would say that opening of Nightfall and Factions very similar so far.
Yeah, and also the way that Nightfall is paced out, it's slower paced than Factions. Factions kind of just launches you. Like you can get a lot of XP and level up much faster.
And yeah,
But you're gated in Nightfall. They've tried to kind of gate you from doing side quests to actually make you play the primary quests and the start to get the story before you can do some of the more world building type side quests that were really good flavor, I thought, in Factions. But we're starting to get some of that here now that we've both, I think, now hit first spear.
yes, we are both chilling on the first spear rung of the ladder.
Yeah. We're
Three
equal
three
to Divad
hundred,
now.
yeah, 300 Sunsphere points. Divad can't tell us what to do anymore.
That's
We
right.
don't talk to that guy. We do a primary quest from him that we picked up last episode, but after
Yeah.
that, we work pretty much directly for Cormyr,
Yes.
which is kind of cool. I like being the right hand stooge in a story. That's like my preferred position in
Right.
a RPG.
Hmm.
I don't like the idea of calling the shots. I like the idea of being the guy who does the shots once they're called. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I was also thinking about how we're in episode 3 of Nightfall now. Episode 3 of Factions, I think we were a little higher level than we are now. I'm level 10. I think you're level 11.
Yeah. By the time I finished for this episode, yeah, I'm a level 11.
And in Prophecies, funnily enough, I think I was level 12 by the end of Prophecies episode 3, but
Yeah.
I really scraped the barrel in Prophecies for every quest I could find.
Yeah.
Because Prophecies was kind of hard, and I really wanted to be over leveled for things.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know about you, but the difficulty of the game at the very end of our content for this episode really kicked me in the fucking teeth.
I knew
Nightfall,
you. Yeah.
yeah, Nightfall's difficulty kind of spiked for me at the end of this episode.
Hmm. Yeah. No, you had said, "Hey, take it easy with this one boss at the end. Be careful." And I was like, "Okay." So I just kind of did I'm a ranged profession, so I'm gonna hang back and let my melee people just go in and let my monk keep them alive.
And you've got some nice skills on your heroes, right?
I've got full builds with elites.
Yeah, so I was really excited about heroes starting out Nightfall. I was like, and you could put gear on them and do their skills.
Hmm.
Um, that is coming from someone who's used to having a fully unlocked account with like skill hunter titles done, right, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. This account does not have those things. So
Right.
when I have to build a hero, I have to build it from nothing.
Yeah.
And we acquire a monk hero this episode, and we acquire an additional dervish hero. And my heroes suck.
I'm
they're
sorry.
they're bad. Are
Yeah.
arguably worse than the henchmen in some scenarios. But we'll talk about that when we jump into it. I think we
Hmm.
started the actual gameplay with the primary quest leaving a legacy, which First Spear
Yeah.
Divad had given us last episode.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
and this quest, Cormyr has convinced some of the elders of Istan. Like Istan is run by like a council of elders.
Hmm.
Um, I learned that in this quest dialogue. Apparently, that's the
Yeah.
case. She's convinced them to allow her to enter a forbidden area called the First City, and she's like hiring a digging crew to come excavate it. And we're like Lara Croft popping in there.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very Tomb Raider.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's a cool mission. We're gonna be so
Hmm.
the kind of cadence for the gameplay this episode is we got 3 primary quests and a mission that we did. So we didn't tackle the quantity of content that we have in the last couple episodes, but there's a lot of plot here.
Yeah, there's a lot of meaty stuff in there. So
And then I think Miko did you did a couple side quests that I didn't find, right?
yeah, because I just randomly came across them and I was like, oh, well, I'll pick you up. And since I'm running out there, I'll see if I can get them done quickly.
Yeah,
And fortunately, I was able to.
after how the end of this episode went for me, I'll probably grab those and do them because I
Hmm.
need levels. Apparently, the game is telling me I need levels.
Right.
But yeah, we're supposed to help Cormyr with this project of excavating this city. We got to go and meet a guy named Quarry Master Bohana in Champion's Dawn, and
Yes.
he's going to hook us up with a Sunspear tactician named Dunkora.
Yeah.
And we're gonna work. We're all gonna work together with a crew of like pickaxe guys to.
Yeah. The diggers.
Yes, it's such a weird. I don't know why that's such a weird way to refer to someone's profession as a digger.
Right. Yeah.
I guess it's a very pigeonholed descriptor of what someone does, right?
Yes, they dig. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like there's many other ways you could put that.
Yeah.
But we gotta. They're Bohana says they're busy in his own quarry that's over in the cliffs of Dojok, and they're beset by harpies.
Yes.
And so we got to go coordinate with Dunkoro to rescue these guys.
Did you grab the scree / harpy killing? What is it called?
I want to call it a bounty.
Bounty, yes, because I was calling it boost, and I was like, that's wrong.
You could call it whatever you want. I've been calling them shrine blessings, and that's definitely not what they are.
Yeah, no, yeah, they are bounties. Did you pick those up before you ran out to start killing them?
Yeah, I'm curious because we actually went to the Jokinder Diggings outpost last episode. Now, this is something you can't do in factions. You cannot enter a mission outpost until the plot tells you can. You can do it in prophecies. I guess they decided in Nightfall that letting people do this is better.
Yeah.
So we entered the Jokinder Diggings outpost and we bought some fancy new armor there.
Yes.
The henchmen there are also level 9 as opposed to level 6 in Champion's Dawn. So using my like classic prophecies strategy of gaming the henchmen levels, I left from the Jokinder Diggings outpost to do this quest.
I did the same thing, but I forgot that Quarry Master Bahana was in Champion's Dawn. I followed the asterisk and I was like, oh, he'll be right there. And I left from Jokinar Diggings, and then I was like, crap, I have to go in, and I'm going to be like the level 6 henchman.
So you just ran there. So did you... That's really funny. You ran all the way there and then had to
I ran all the way there, and then I was like, well, shit.
I have video footage of me beginning to do the exact same thing, and then luckily I noticed and I ported over to Champion's Dawn. Yeah. Did you port back again to Jokinder Diggings, or did you just say screw it?
I said screw it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I did do the quest with the level 9 henchman. It is a bit of a jog. I don't know that it's worth it because it's not a hard quest.
No. Yeah.
But while I had those level 9 henchmen in my party, I also did that master difficulty quest that you did last episode.
And how did that go?
I had pretty much just as much trouble with it as you did. I probably full party wiped like 5 or 6 times.
What was your death penalty? Because I had hit 60 by the time I was done.
Yeah, my personal death penalty was 49, but I think all of my heroes and henchmen were at a full 60 by the end. Because there was a point, I think, where they all died and resurrected before I died again. And they came back. That quest is hard.
I find it weird because, like, you had such an easy time with that level 24 difficulty master or master difficulty quest out in Zalon Reach, and this should have been, easier because the enemies were like 10 levels lower. Yeah,
and I did this at level 8. And what I decided was that specifically the enemy that's a problem in that quest is the level 13 water elementalist scale, the frigid scale.
Yes.
Because they just do piles of damage.
Yeah.
The warrior ones that are level 14 are not as big of an issue.
Not as bad. No.
And yeah, I was just killing like 1 or 2 at a time, dying, and then coming back to it. It was the same story as Miko's footage.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a bizarre quest.
Yeah.
But back to the plot. How did liberating the harpies go for Miko, the Paragon?
It went pretty smoothly. We just killed the scree as they came. And the asterisk leads you around to like little different groupings, but I was kind of like, oh, there's scree over there. Oh, there's scree over there. And then I was like, oh, maybe I should follow the asterisk.
Yeah, so when I talked to Dunkoro outside of Champion's Dawn, he's like, hey, never go anywhere without a plan. Did I tell you I'm good at planning things? I'm a planner. I like having plans. It's like his entire personality. He's
that is pretty much Dunkoro.
Yeah, he's like a cartoon character that has one thing that he's known for, and that's making plans. And then
I'm just kind of like, it would be good if you added to your plan not dying.
Did Dunkoro die for you?
That would be nice. Yes.
A lot.
He did.
Well, the problem is that,
and I'm like, Dunkoro, I need you to stay alive. What are you doing? You're a monk. Heal thyself.
Heal thyself. I would let Dunkoro have healing touch if he could promise to only use it on himself. Actually, I don't even know if you can use healing touch on yourself. It might be a target other ally spell, but I removed healing touch from that guy's bar as soon as possible. Spoiler alert, you do get Dunkoro as a hero. But what I found so interesting is when you talk to him, he's like, we got to meet this Hemar guy at the quarry, and we got to help get those diggers out of there. And then he's like, let's go let them know what the plan is. But he doesn't actually tell me what the plan is. We don't have a plan. He just says, the plan is let's go over there and kill harpies. That's not a plan. That's just doing the thing.
That's sort of an objective. And then you get there and Hamar's like, okay, great. Now we can go and kill the things. And Dunkoro, I don't even think Dunkoro even says anything.
There absolutely is no plan. Right?
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, cool.
The plan is that I am here now and I am better than you. So I will kill these harpies that you cannot deal with.
Yeah.
It's just very funny how they kind of hammer in how much of a brilliant tactician Dunkoro is, and then that plays no part in this quest whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think there is some overhead dialogue where Dunkoro's like...
he's telling you about the harpies.
Yeah, focus on the healer first, right? He's like being kind of a master tutorial type.
Yeah. Yes.
He's giving you that sort of thing. The harpies are not hard to kill. They're like level 5. Mm-hmm. Kind of a cool quarry area. It's like a dugout beach quarry. You can see like the scaffolding where they're mining the rocks. It's cool.
Yeah, I always liked that area.
Yeah, the Cliffs of Dojok is a cool zone. I don't know that I like the visual aesthetic of the Nightfall areas as much as I enjoy the sheer kind of craziness of the Factions areas. I think Factions probably has the visually best areas.
Yeah, that's very pretty.
But it is a nice change of pace after being in Kaineng City for so long.
Yeah, the sewers are, they got old quick.
Yeah, Cliffs of Dojok is a nice, kind of misty tropical zone. It feels like it's 7 a.m. in Cliffs of Dojok. It's got that kind of energy.
Yeah,
So yeah, we do that, and then they tell us to go meet a guy named Hamar. No, we already met Hamar.
Yeah, we met Hamar.
They go tell us to meet Gata. Sorry, there's a lot of guys with names with 2 A's and an H in them.
Yeah. Yeah, Digmaster Gata is the one who gives us the quest reward.
And he is at Jokinder Diggings.
Yes.
And he is the Digmaster, not the Quarry Master. Very different things. He masters the dig, not the quarry.
He's in charge of the diggers.
But diggers work for both dig masters and quarry masters.
Correct.
I'm just getting my Tyrian.
There's a hierarchy,
mining quarry industry.
Yes, the quarry master would be over the dig master.
Okay, gotcha. So Hamar. Well, and Hamar is a quarry master, and who's the guy we talked to at Champions Dawn? Bohana is also a quarry master. I don't know what's going on there, right?
I don't know either.
Bohana's senior quarry master, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, we go talk to Digmaster Gata, and at this point I'm thinking I guess we're gonna go do the mission now. Not so.
Nope.
The mission outpost is kind of serves as a little primary quest hub in this case, because we get another primary quest.
We do.
And what is Gata's quest acceptance dialogue? He's got a little bit of information for us.
Yeah, he tells us that Cormier mentioned that several Cornin and Vabian dignitaries have arrived. And so we're supposed to go over and, quote, with Dunkoro and, quote, keep them happy while we're here.
Yeah, and this is something we actually noticed last episode. We're there's a lot of Cornin and Vabian folks just showing up in his stand.
Yeah.
So some kind of consonance with what we've been seeing so far in the story. And
Mm-hmm.
and Cormier also mentions that she has Gata mentions that Cormier has requested that Dunkoro and I work together from now on, and then
Yes.
Dunkoro hops in our party as a hero.
Yep.
And he's like kind of an older guy, right? I want to say he's like 52.
Yeah, maybe, or a little older. He's definitely got a kind of a wise man kind of vibe.
Yeah,
Kind of,
he's the brains of the
yeah.
operation essentially,
Yeah.
and he's a monk.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
He is a monk.
and he's kind of the Alicia the healer henchman of the healer heroes. He's notorious for dying.
Dying. Yes.
um,
Yes, especially if you don't have a full build on him, like, or the right build where he can like manage his own energy efficiently. He just seems to not have very good AI.
yeah, so and he starts out at level 6. At this point, Koss and I are
Mm-hmm.
level like 8, 9. So
Mm-hmm.
he's got some catching up to do. He actually caught up very quickly.
Very quickly, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a huge deal.
Mm-mm.
By the end of this, me and all my heroes are level 10.
Yes.
Um, and yeah, my Dunkoro build is an absolute disaster. It's a train wreck.
Mm-hmm.
He starts out with like some awful skills. He's got Healing Breeze on there, which I'm ashamed
Mm-hmm.
to admit I still have on there. I think I'm going to take it off. It's 10 energy and it just isn't worth anything.
No.
He's got Healing Touch, which is just a monk suicide skill,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
um, but he's got Orison of Healing and Words of Comfort, which are pretty good. And this would be a good point for me to go on a little side tangent about the hero skill trainer.
Mm-hmm.
Because Miko told me about this guy last episode, and I
Yeah.
was like,
Did
"Oh,
you talk to him?
great, yeah, yeah." And I grabbed my whirlwind attack, which is great.
Nice.
So I've got that on my dervish now. But then I started like grabbing skills for my heroes, and as
Mm-hmm.
long as you have hero skill points, which I think you get when your heroes level up,
Mm-hmm.
you can just grab these. When you
Mm-hmm.
run out of hero skill points, he will ask you, "Would you like to use your own skill point
Mm-hmm.
to get these?" And I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, let me get more skills." And I'm just clicking through, grabbing skills.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what it? Do you know what the other caveat to using your own skill points to get these skills is?
You run out of skill points and your skills cost more?
It costs 1 platinum per
Mm.
time you do
Mm-hmm.
this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
did not read that part.
Oh no.
I bankrupted myself out of like 7 or 8 thousand
Oh no.
gold, getting
Oh
really
no.
terrible skills for my heroes.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Well.
So I'm now destitute and with not very much to show for it. No, I'm not destitute. I've got like 10 platinums left in the bank.
Okay.
So I'll live, but
Yeah.
you know, my fortune has been squandered on middling
Middling
skills for
skills.
my heroes, unfortunately.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I've got like Dunkoro doing what he can, but he's pretty terrible. And I've got him using a skill called Divine Boon,
Oh.
which is a
Yeah.
maintained enchantment, which means it
Mhm.
saps his energy regeneration, but it like makes his skills heal for a little bit more. I don't know if
Mhm.
I should keep that either. I don't know if it's
Right.
worth it.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're gonna have to start tapping your former monk main brain, I
yeah,
guess, or experience.
yeah, I did play monk when I played Guild Wars 1 as like my main game. I would usually run either Word of Healing in the beginning, hopped on the Healer's Boon train when that was a thing.
Hmm.
And then when they buffed Unyielding Aura, that's pretty much all I run these
Yep.
days on my main account
Hmm.
because it's disgusting.
Yeah.
So maybe I don't know if heroes know how to use Unyielding Aura though. Like I don't think they'll enchantment cancel to res. I don't know if they can do that.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that my Dunkoro has unyielding aura in his build.
Okay, maybe. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good even if they don't use it to res because it's just a flat
Hmm.
buff to all your heals.
Hmm.
So yeah, maybe I'll look into like pursuing that because I think it's a core skill. So it might be
Yeah.
prophecies though. I don't know. But yeah,
It's kind
monk struggle bus right now for me.
of. Oh God.
How do you know what like builds your heroes are running right now?
Well, I know that Dunkoro's got an unyielding aura build. Can't remember. Think there's one called something ribbon, spirit ribbon. No,
Oh, healing ribbon.
healing ribbon. Healing ribbon. I think is on his bar. And I know that healing touch. I was like, yeah, no. Um,
Healing ribbon is good. It's an Eye of the North skill. I use it a lot on my
hmm
monk.
Yeah. I can't remember what else. And then Koss, I think Koss is running. I forget what elite he's running. The Defying Pain is not an elite, but he's got a good elite, and I can't
Defy
remember the name
Pain
of it.
is an elite skill. It's Prophecy's elite. It's
Okay,
basically
then
the roided up version
that
of Endure Pain.
I think that's what he's running. And then Milani, I gave her a straight just dervish build that's running Avatar of Melandru. But I've got some other builds. I've got the one that you wanted, the elite that you wanted,
Vow of Strength.
Strength, and on my unlocked on my account, and I'm like, surely I've got someone with a build using this skill. So I've got to play around. I was kind of by the time I got Milani, I was a little sleepy, so I was like, I'll fix you later. In the meantime, you can use this and you'll be fine. And she was.
Did you check PVX Wiki for hero dervish builds?
No.
I did.
No, I did not do that. Okay, well, see, there you go. You're smarter than me.
Well,
I was sleepy.
here's the thing about PVX Wiki's section on hero builds for dervishes. You click on, you go to hero builds and you click on great, and there are no dervish builds
Oh dear.
in there, so you have to go down to good. And then there's some dervish builds listed, and they're all just dervish. Like Second Profession doesn't really matter for dervish. Apparently, nothing really melds with it very well. And I think there's a Vow of Strength one there, and there's like an avatar of whatever. There's like a build for every avatar. The avatar skills are good.
Yeah, they are. I've got one saved with Avatar of Grenth, and for whatever reason, I don't have Avatar of Grenth unlocked on my account, and I'm like, well, how did that happen?
You have a build saved for an elite you don't have.
Yeah, isn't that funny? And I think it's because I got it from a friend, and I was like, "Oh, that's a good build," and then I didn't get the skill. I don't know. These are things that happen from back when I was playing. I was just like, "I like that build. I'm gonna steal it and save it on my account, and then maybe one day I'll use it." So I've got to go take a look around and through my account and see what dervish builds I've got on there, and whatever's not saved, save them. What might look good. So I've got to play around for Milani's build, but I knew that Koss's build worked because it's from another one of my characters, Koss's. So yeah,
I used to run Defy Pain on my warrior actually. A lot of people poo-poo on it because it's not damage, right? And damage is kind of king once the power creep of the game sets in, like it is in Guild Wars 1. But
I need Koss not to die.
Yeah, with your monk,
because he's a bit of a suicide. He's like a kamikaze guy. Even when you've got him set on guard, my Kosses always just run in and they're crazy.
Yeah, with the situation we're in with our low level hero monks right now, it's actually great to have characters that aren't going to stress the monk out too bad. So I like Defy Pain for that kind of reason. My Milani, I have her on Wind Prayers. We'll talk about Milani on the next couple quests we're going on, but she is a dervish hero that we acquired by the end of this episode. I've got her like doing Wind Prayers stuff since I'm doing Earth Prayers stuff. And Koss is just hitting stuff with a sword. He's a great guy. So that's kind of what's going on with my team. I'm still hitting stuff with a scythe. I'm doing pretty good now with the scythe now that I got Whirlwind Attack. That's coming together pretty nicely.
And you got that really nice scythe too.
I got that really nice scythe that just shreds stuff, except for the boss that we're going to talk about at the end of the episode. The next quest that we get from this Gata guy, I keep wanting to call him Gotcha. His name is Gotcha. Is called the Honorable General.
Yes.
Not in reference to Cormyr. This is in reference to a guy named General Morgan. I think we talked about him last episode.
I think maybe in passing.
Yeah, I think we might have chatted about him before we started recording the episode. He's mentioned by an emissary in Astralarium that is actually a guy that's going to feature in the plot this episode. Right now, what we got to do for this quest is Cormyr wants us to represent Istan in like some mock-up war games with Korna.
Yes. She wants us to basically go and impress them.
Yep, Korna, again, I just want to... Nightfall hasn't described its geography super well to us yet, so
Mm-mm.
give just a little brief rundown every time these come up for the first few episodes. Korna is a country across the sea to the north. They're like kind of our neighbors here in Istan. A guy named General Morgan is waiting for us in Zelon Reach, which we explored a little bit last episode. And he's got some Kornan soldiers for us to spar with.
Mm-hmm.
But before we can do that, what do we have to achieve?
We have to either become a first spear in Sun Spear rank or hit level 12.
Which of these did you end up achieving?
First spear.
Same, yeah. I don't think either of us are level 12.
No.
How did your first spear farming go?
So long as I grabbed the blessings or the bounties from the Sunspear Scouts at the shrines, the res shrines, yeah, it went pretty quickly. I think I was second spear, rank 3, and I was about a quarter of the way through when I logged in to play for the play session for this episode, and it took me about an hour to just essentially running around cliffs of Dojak.
How long would you say How long would you say
Mm.
the play session took you overall?
About 3 hours.
Yeah, I was at about 3.5. I actually had to
Mhm.
restart the mission, so that added.
I did as well.
Yeah, that added a little bit of playtime for me. Well, I'm excited
Yeah.
to talk about this mission because it's. I actually before we talk about the mission, but just ballpark. Do you like this mission?
I like the area, and I had a lot of nostalgia running through, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember coming through here. This was fun." And then I got in there, and I was like, "That boss that we're chasing right now, he's a dick." And oh look, Donkoro died. I'm not having so much fun, right? I'm remembering about why I maybe started cursing out this area for this mission before.
In spite of the boss being a pain in the ass, I quite like the mission. I think it's really good.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it. So which is why I'm jumping the gun. But we do need to rewind back to the war game
The
we're playing
Honorable
with
General.
the
Yeah.
Kornans. Yeah, I was 266 out of 300 points for first spear, so I went and did that pain in the ass quest that you talked about last episode with the scale bounty active, and that cleared my whole thing.
Nice.
Yep.
Good job.
So I'm doing this quest at like level 9. And that's fine for this quest. Like the Kornans are level 8, I think. But then you get to the mission and all the enemies are level 10, and then the boss is level 13, and you're like, oh, I might be under-leveled.
Right.
But how did this fight with the Kornan soldiers go for you?
It was pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that happened was that like here I am fighting Kornans, and then I had some random termites or bugs show up.
They're like right
like,
there.
no.
I think you can aggro them on accident.
That's what happened. And so here I am all of a sudden like targeting the bugs, and I was like, no, we got to go back to the Kornans where we need to finish because we're on a little bit of a timer here.
Oh, do they give you a timer for this?
Yeah. Morgan gives you a timer.
I was just focusing on smashing dudes.
Yeah, and I think it's whoever hits 3 first. I don't really know. I just know that the fight ended, and I was like, oh, I guess we won.
Korna did manage to score 1 point on me. They did kill Donkoro.
Yes, they killed Donkoro for me as well, and they scored like 2 points. And so I don't know who else they killed. I think they may have killed Donkoro twice. That may have been it.
That's the most likely scenario, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so I did manage to win. And it is interesting when you enter Zelon Reach, they're standing right outside the Astralarium portal, I want to say.
Yes.
General Morgan is there with somebody.
Yes. With his boss.
Yes, he is with a lady named Varish Asa.
Varish Asa, yes. Now, those of you who've watched our episodes should recognize that surname.
Yes.
Right.
Because we did an entire episode on the bonus mission pack about her ancestor, Tyria Asa, who was a Kornan, and who is also the ghostly hero from the Prophecies plot. And yeah, so Varish Asa, same last name. She is the supreme leader of Korna. Korna's in a weird place under Varish, and we're gonna start finding out about that in the next quest, and we're gonna find out a lot more about it in the plot of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But she like she's one of those people where you just look at her and you're like, oh, you're a bad guy.
Yeah.
She's very she's got like a neck frill.
Yes.
Just like an evil, what are those called? There's a word for these. You know
A
that
ruff.
popped call a ruff. Yeah, that's the one.
A ruff.
It's
Yeah.
kind of a ruff. She has kind of an evil
Mhm.
ruff.
Yeah. RUFF. Yes. It is that. Yes. Her coloring, her armor is like a dark purple.
She's
It's
cool
in
looking.
gold. Yeah, she's very cool looking. She's kind of a Rihanna looking face, which cracks me up every time I play
You know,
this
I never
game.
thought about it that way, but she does kind of look like Rihanna.
She does, yeah. No, yeah, she's an interesting character, and I'm like, how did you? Because I don't remember. How did you go from badass ancestor, hero of Korna to you look like a villain, and maybe you are, and I'm not sure that we trust you.
Yeah, no, she's pretty good, I think. I
Mm-hmm.
think she's a fun character, and we're going to be
Mm-hmm.
experiencing her a lot. And I did kind of spill the beans. She is a villain,
Yeah.
and she's a good villain. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in re-experiencing all that she has to offer because while Shiro is there in factions,
Mm-hmm.
I find him to be a pretty boring antagonist to the
Yeah, because
story.
he's mostly off screen, and when he does come on screen, it's like through um what are they called? Cutscenes and a lot of flashbacks. So we get a lot of just backstory on how he became the bad guy, but we don't really have much interaction with him until the last couple of missions, really.
And he's mostly mustache twirling with very little
Yes.
true motivation. Like you have the whole background
Mm-hmm.
with the fortune teller,
Yeah.
which is supposed to be what his motivation is, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot lacking there in terms of me understanding this character. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
the more we find out about Varish, from what I remember anyway, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'll hate it. I don't know. But I seem to remember Varish just having a lot more to her. Plus, she's like a
Mm-hmm.
real person, right? Which
Yeah.
is always more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So excited about that. General Morgan is impressed with us.
Yes.
And Varish asks him to test our skills and report back to her.
Mm-hmm.
And General Morgan seems like a nice guy. He seems pretty chill.
Yeah.
When you talk to him, his dialogue indicates that he's like really into Lissa. He
Yeah.
says something about Lissa's teachings. I don't remember what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that he would hate to meet us on the field of battle.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, well, okay then.
Dun dun dun. No. He does direct us to the Cornin emissary in the Astralarium, a guy who I ran into there last episode. And this guy's name is Dashmir, which
Yeah.
is a cool name.
It is a cool name.
I actually added this name. I have a running note on my phone of potential character names for me to use in RPGs. I went ahead and added Dashmir because I think it's a cool name.
It is a cool name. Yeah, that's a good addition.
Yeah, I yoink names from games that I'm playing, and I'm like, I'll use this in a different game later.
Yeah.
And Dashmir basically says that, well, first of all, he gives us our quest reward. And he also mentions, this doesn't really matter, but I mentioned that Morgan like has a Lissa line, but Dashmir mentions that Morgan is like a devout follower of all five gods. So
yeah,
that's kind of something that Morgan's got going on. Doesn't super matter for the story, but it kind of does because is there only five gods?
Right.
And then we got to really get into it with Dashmir regarding moving forward with the plot. And what does he have to direct us to do?
So he has we've got to now go. Our next quest is signs and portents.
Yes, which portents is a great word that is not used enough ever.
I agree. Yes.
It's got two T's in it. And they're not together. Sorry.
No. Yeah, and so we've got to go and meet up with a character called Milani, who has a reputation of kind of being well, according to Dashmir, kind of a bit of a troublemaker. Um, and we need to go meet up with her because Cormir wants to investigate something.
Yeah, so when we talk to him in the Astralarium, Dashmir says that one of Korna's generals, someone named Kayet, has been inquiring with the Order of the Sky.
Of the Sky, yeah.
Who I assume are the astronomers in the Astralarium.
Hmm.
Because we also, if you remember last episode, we commented that we've got those purple glowy glyphs on the wall at the Astralarium.
Yes. And he is in the outpost. He's basically staring at the glowy glyph as well.
Yes, and this Kayet person has been asking the Order of the Sky about some astronomical phenomenon called Nightfall.
Nightfall
with a capital N. Ooh, they said the title of the thing in the game.
Yes.
And General Morgan doesn't approve of this line of inquiry. He's not on board. No. And additionally, he also mentions that an unnamed someone else has also been digging around about this Nightfall deal. And he wants us to go meet him in Zelon Reach to help investigate the whole deal. And he's like, yo, it's dangerous out there. Bring Koss with you. I heard he has big muscles. Right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's like literally what he said. And then once we meet him, he's like, all right, now that nobody's listening in, this someone else I told you about is a young Cornin, he says rabble-rouser.
Rabble-rouser, yeah.
Named Milani. Phonetically Milani, because it has two N's, right? Not Melanie.
Right.
Her being named Melanie would be so lame. And this Kayet guy, he says that this Kayet person has agents everywhere. So this Kayet person is like loyal to Varish, right? Some people say Varesh. I've always said Varish.
I've always said Varish as well.
I think it could be either or. We'll listen to whether they say her name in one of the cutscenes. I didn't get to hear if her name was said in the cutscenes because my cat jumped on my audio cable and deleted my sound.
Oh no! They do say the name. I'm pretty sure they said Varish.
Gotcha.
So maybe you'll get some audio from my footage.
Yeah, I'm gonna have you help me with the cutscene audio for this quest because the way my audio cable works is if it gets jostled, my sound for the application I'm using just dies, and the only way to get it back is to restart the application, which you can't just do in the middle of instant content in Guild Wars. So I had to play this whole quest with no sound. It was fucking awful because there's a lot of like cutscene in this quest.
You need to name your cat Bad Kitty.
I really do. My cat's name is Janet, which is basically the human name equivalent of Bad Kitty, honestly. This Dashmir guy also mentions that the reason he had Koss come along is because Koss knows Milani.
Yes.
And we hop on across the river. And we meet Milani, and she is a dervish lady.
Yep.
She's got like the robe, she got the scythe. She does not have the Grim Reaper hood, but I do, so I'm making up for both of us. Do a double hood time. Koss. So, did Koss do anything when you walked up to Milani?
Yeah. What did he do? He was like, "Oh, hey."
Well, because I was wondering if it was an idle animation that just popped for me, and it just happened to be right here. We walk up to Milani, and Koss immediately starts dancing for me.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I think that must have been an idle animation pop, because I don't think he said that, but he does tell her that it's a pleasure to see that scythe, is what he says.
And he calls her
Darlin.
Darlin,
yeah, he's basically flirting with her.
He's flirting, and he's also like... He's kind of patronizing towards her.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's some like the Koss is kind of like a 1950s, like misogynist. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a weird vibe going on.
There is.
But it's just fun. Like in my footage, it's very funny because he walks up, immediately starts dancing, and goes, "Milani, it's great to see that side again, darling."
Yeah, that's a bit.
It looks comical. Yeah, it's super goofy. And we start chit chatting with them, and Milani lets us know that apparently Cormir has found out something about this Nightfall phenomenon that is being looked into.
We've got
Milani,
she's basically taking us over to see Cormier because they need to investigate this
yes,
glyph, this glowy
yes.
glyph.
And Milani's initial dialogue names, she actually, so like when you talk to people, they have like an initial dialogue, and then you can click on like the quest for the quest dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And Milani's like general blurb dialogue, she indicates that she believes Varish Asa is a threat to Corn.
She does say that, yes.
So she's kind of a dissident,
Mm-hmm.
kind of working behind the scenes against the powers that be. And then we get a little bit of a cutscene, and this is where I didn't have sound, because usually when I'm taking notes on the cutscene, I'm just listening to it while I'm typing.
Right. Right.
Having to like try and read it, I never noticed how fast the cutscene dialogue appears and disappears
It can go,
on
yeah.
the screen. From what I was able to gather, Koss and we question Koss about Milani, and we find out that he and her are both from Korna. They kind of like grew up in neighboring hamlets. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Milani believes Varish is up to something. Koss is skeptical. And then Milani is like, well, let's go see what Cormier has for us. So Koss isn't really buying that, like, this is as big of a deal as it is.
Right. He doesn't think that Varish also would be up to no good.
Yeah, because Milani points out that she's like, dude, isn't it weird that the leader of the country would come over here for what's supposed to be just like a trade deal?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
And Koss is
her
like,
generals, and brings her generals as well.
yeah, and Koss is like, that's not weird at all. I don't know what the problem is.
And she's like, well, use your brain, meathead.
Right, and Koss is like, I don't have one. Yeah, I'm kind of on Team Milani here. This seems weird, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, Koss has to do what I say, so we go and we meet Cormier, and
Yes.
there's some of those same purple glyphs on the wall that we saw in the Astrolarium.
Yep. And they start looking at it, Milani and Cormier, which is strange because Cormier, like, we get initial dialogue that pops up and Cormier is talking, but I was like, well, where are you? I'm looking around and you're nowhere to be found. But all of a sudden she just then saunters up in the cutscene, and they're checking out, she and Milani are checking out the glyph, and they're like, this is bad. This is bad.
It's funny that you said that you had trouble finding her, because in my footage you can see me swinging my camera around looking for her, because I can't find her either.
Same. Yeah, and I was like, is she like, did she clip into the wall? Where is she? But nope.
Yeah, I think she's just like walking and she's hard to see.
Yeah.
Or she spawns late or something like that. But this is kind of, because we've only done 2 quests, or this is our 3rd quest this episode, and just compared to Factions, the plot is relatively similar so far, but there's so much more detail in the dialogue in Nightfall. Much more dialogue, much more detail in the dialogue, much more fleshed out and better written, a lot more world building, like the characters mention areas and people and like kind of the movement of the world a lot more. It's just, it feels like a more complete story as opposed to Factions, which the story seems more like a vehicle to deliver gameplay to you. The Nightfall story actually seems like a story with characters that you can like kind of dive into. It's very clear that this is not ANET's first rodeo at making a Guild Wars game, right? Like they've kind of really figured out how to do it at this point. It's good stuff. But did you, on the way over to meet Cormier, actually, did you meet a collector named Zukisha?
No, I don't think so. What were they collecting? I ran into a couple of collectors, but
I don't even catalog what they're collecting anymore, because it doesn't matter. They just exist for little story blurbs. She's collecting something to like give you a hood or something like that. But she says that her garden was destroyed by mandragores. And she's like, my radishes. And then she says, this means war, and she sends you off to commit mandragore genocide, essentially.
Oh my gosh.
That's
she's funny.
Yeah, I like her.
I had ran across a little kid who wanted to collect feathers from the harpies.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, because it's his birthday, and he's like, my dad won't let me go because he says I'm too young and I can't handle the harpies, so can you go get them for me?
I was like, brother, they're a level 13 scale out here. What are you doing?
I know.
Because he's a
Yeah.
little kid. He's like the 10-year-old kid model.
Yeah.
He is standing next to a Sunspear scout, so I think they're babysitting him. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't think small children should be out in like the wilderness
No.
of Tyria. It's
Yeah.
probably bad.
Yes.
It's like in prophecies, a lot of the times we would be out in like these max level areas, and you meet the collector, and they're level 10.
It's like, how did you get out here?
It's just like,
How are you still
A,
alive?
how did you get here? B, how are you still alive? C, why haven't you
Yeah.
gone home?
Exactly.
Yeah, more collector fun. I just like talking to him and seeing what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
What happens when you click to examine the glyphs?
We get another little cutscene, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's like multiple cutscenes in this quest.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And we see that there's the glyph is glowing, yes. And Cormier and Milani start talking about that it's ancient language, but neither of them apparently can read it. A scholar is what Cormier says, a scholar could decipher it, and Milani's like, I don't know anyone who'd want to come out here, and Cormier's like, well, you'd be surprised. And then they find a body, and it's of a dead excavation worker, and he's like got the same kind of like glowy purple, and he's covered in like glyphs as well.
Yeah,
So
it looks like
something-
some sort of like cult ritual.
Yeah, and not just cult ritual, because he's like glowing purple out of his mouth, out of his eyes, and also just all over his like chest is glowing, and it's got just letters, in Tyrian language carved into him, and they're glowing, and it's like, what in the heck is got this dude?
And it's like you mentioned that Cormier mentions that the glyphs are, she says, from a time before the Scarab Plague.
Scarab Plague, yeah.
Which we don't really know what the Scarab Plague is right now.
No, not yet, no.
There's I think the quest chain that I want us to do next episode, I think we learn about it. So that should be fun. It's like a significant event in the history of Ilona. Yeah. And then after you kind of examine this body of this dead digger, he's got like purple glyphs coming out of his every orifice, right? Yeah. Milani like pulls a Han Solo, and she's like, I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm like, no shit, Sherlock. Like, it's a dead man with letters carved into his chest. Yeah, no, this is bad.
This is bad.
Thank you, Captain Obvious Milani.
Obvious. Yes.
And then now we got to go talk to Digmaster Gata again to kind of finish the quest, and so we can get started on the mission. And Gata tells us that digger we found was the last one that died, and all the other ones died in the same way. And then he said another group of diggers like blazed through the camp, and that they were heavily armed.
And he'd never seen them before.
Yeah, and
that they seemed to know where they were going.
And they just blitzkrieged into the first city. And so we got to go after them with Cormier.
Yep.
And Milani joins us as a hero.
Yep.
And
yay! We've now got 3 heroes. We can now form a full hero party. Well, with
a full hero party in places that only allow for 4 party members.
Yeah.
Which I think we should find some 6 party places next episode. Yeah. So now we gotta start the mission. We basically gotta hop into the first city, which is called Foreigner. The first city. And we have to tomb raid our way into like the central sanctum to figure out what the hell is going on. Yeah. So tell me about your experience entering into and attempting to engage with this mission.
So things were going well. We killed the plant life that was, outside. We encountered the first Sunspear ghost, because the Sunspear ghosts are around in the first city. And after Cormier decides to try to tell him, you're just addle-brained, let me through. We're going in whether you want us to or not. I was like, okay, I know to avoid the crashing squasher that comes down out of the sky as you're going through like little arches. So I remember this, and then I started chasing
A guy
the
named
first little
Derek.
boss, Derek the Quick,
Yeah,
and
I had a
uh,
couple. I had a glass of wine or two with this playthrough, and
okay.
as I after I killed Derek, I placed a note in my notes, and I didn't realize at the time, but this is a very funny note. It says, "I kill a ghost named Derek the Quick and steal his stone tablet. I don't know why I'm doing this, but he was hostile and I'm a gamer." I don't know what was going through my brain when I wrote that down. But that's what is in
But
my notes right
I
now.
mean, this is, and all of it is true.
All of it is
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
all of it is true.
And I was
So
thankful that I
yes,
had sprint on my skill bar, the warrior skill.
and I'm thankful that I had fallback on my bar,
Yes.
uh,
Fallback is an awesome
because
skill. I run it on
I
like
know
my
it's great.
heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So, there we were, and we were chasing Dark the Quick, and I read the wiki, and the wiki was like, hey, don't spend too much time because if you kill the restless, what are they called? Restless ghosts, restless
The sun,
undead,
the skeleton guys.
the skeleton guys. Yeah, what are they called?
Uh, restless,
Restless.
restless. I don't know why don't I know? Restless corpse. That's the
Relentless
one.
corpse and restless dead. Yes,
Yeah.
so those are the skeleton dudes. And then you've got Sunspear ghosts around. But the ones that you really need to worry about are the relentless corpses and the restless dead. And so
Yeah.
I was like, well, I mean, if I just need to kill Derek the Quick to get his tablet, I'm gonna chase him, and I'm not gonna bother with the trash. And
Yes.
it was working out well until Dunkoro died.
Hmm.
And I
As he
was like,
does.
bro, where did you go? Yeah. I was like, where did you go? Why are you down at the bottom of those stairs when we're up here? And why are you dead? And so I went back to get somebody to try to res him. And Koss got a res off. Dunkoro came back, but instantly was killed again. And then, of course, Cormier started taking damage, and we had a party wipe. And I had to restart.
Wow. So we
Yeah.
party wiped in two completely different places. This is fun.
Oh, yeah.
I chased him down, killed him pretty quick, and then was able to kill everything else. I can kill these
Mm-hmm.
ghosts probably a little faster since I have that stupidly overpowered scythe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, I did find it funny that the restless corpses are straight up just reused assets from the Ascalon Catacombs dungeon in Pre-Searing Ascalon in Prophecies.
Yeah.
It's the same model and everything. I think they have some updated skills because they're like
Mm-hmm.
level 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're just dropped in there. Um, I didn't have too much trouble with that. What I am curious about is whether you were able to do the bonus on the next section.
Of not killing the ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
I killed 2 of them,
Okay, gotcha.
and I didn't mean to, but it just happened, and I was like, well, there goes the bonus.
So yeah, I was in like a strange mood while doing this
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
that bonus popped up and I was like, let me guess, they're fucking hostile, right?
Of course.
So yeah, I was like, well, I'll give it a try, but I am not restarting the mission to try to make this work,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I actually did manage to do it.
Good.
We'll kind of like give you some context for how this bonus works. So after you kill Derek the Quick, he drops a stone tablet. Pop the stone tablet on the stone pedestal. It's not rocket science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it opens a door. Pretty classic.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing like Tomb Raider 2
Tomb
back in
Raider.
the
Yeah.
90s right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was engineered this way because it's very funny the way it happened. You go through this
Mm-hmm.
door, and a bonus
Mm-hmm.
objective pops up. Don't hurt any of the Sunspear ghosts.
Right.
And so I, of course, immediately stop moving and hit my
Mm-hmm.
control to scan for enemies so I can see where the Sunspear ghosts are.
Mm-hmm.
And I have stopped right below one of those bells that crushes you.
Oh no.
And I get pancaked.
Yes.
Luckily, my heroes were standing behind me. They did not, so it was fine. But I swear to God, that is designed to happen exactly the way it happened for me, because it was too perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But you can run past the first Sunspear ghost if you keep that corner tight and flag your heroes. You can just run right past him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use that first stone tablet you get and run it down to where there's 2 more stone pedestals.
Yeah.
And then the hard part comes when you need to run directly through a hostile Sunspear ghost to get the next stone tablet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I
So,
just flagged my heroes and kept them moving so that they couldn't attack anything.
yeah,
And that
that's
allowed us
smart.
to get in and out without killing the Sunspear ghost.
Well, that's good because like I said, I was sleepy, and so I didn't even bother flagging my heroes. I was like, we're just gonna wait until the fire jets stop, and we're just gonna run and Koss don't kill things. No, really don't kill things. And when after I killed Derek the Quick, picked up his tablet, did not see the pedestal, ran down the way that needs to go for I think the next part, and then I was like, wait, I'm going the wrong way. I'm looking at the mission map on the wiki. I'm like, I know I'm going the wrong way. Where is this door? Where is this pedestal? And then of course I had to run back, and I was like, oh damn it, there it is.
There's
So
a
I wasted
whole
time.
Yeah, there's a whole section of this temple that you can like fully explore that is completely unnecessary to the mission.
Unnecessary, yes, and that's what I did. So yeah, so that kind of ate some minutes because I got turned around, found the pedestal finally, then went through the door, got the little pop up, remembered, no, don't stand under here because I'll get squashed. Fortunately, Cormier had just come through when it went down. I turned around and I was like, well, she just barely escaped that bell.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
I would
she
have had to
very
restart again.
nearly got pancaked, yeah.
Yeah, she was just in front of it, and I was like, well, I'm glad that you made it through, dear. So
That would be
yeah.
the worst way to have to restart this mission is Cormier getting
Man.
pancaked.
Yep. So yeah, so then it was after that it was find the first tablet, drop it by the pedestal, go and get the next tablet since I'm running solo. And then go and then interact with the pedestals to get the next door open.
And that extraneous section of the dungeon because this kind of is like a dungeon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like before dungeons come out in Eye of the North, this is kind of one of the more dungeony experiences we've had probably in
Yeah.
the whole game at this
Mm-hmm.
point. Because it's a cool little instance. Like it's this old ruined city with like cool statues and architecture and stuff. It's very neat.
Mm-hmm.
And that extraneous section of the dungeon, it did serve one purpose, because that area at the end of it is our thumbnail for this episode.
Yeah.
So it's not completely useless. Got something out of that content that was developed for no reason. Yeah, you'd use these 2 stone tablets to open the final door. This mission actually is not very long. It's pretty concise. And we hop through this door, and there's a whole bunch of restless dead. And there's a little cutscene that like shows this like stone dude at the end of the corridor.
Yep.
And there's like some slimy water we got to wade through that's taking me back to Shenzhen tunnels. And there's like black Hermes Mora tentacles everywhere. Have you ever played Elder Scrolls?
I started Elder Scrolls, but I never finished it.
There's like an Elder Scrolls lore master would be able to better explain it, but there's like a deep chaos, like who's that guy? Lovecraft. There's like a Lovecraftian god in that called Hermes Mora, and he's got like black tentacles, much like the ones we see in this instance. Black tentacles like sprouting up out of the ground like trees. What's that about? I don't know. But we got to kind of fight through the restless corpses. There's like 4 groups of them. You go down some steps, and then you can approach this end boss, which is called the Apocrypha. And we've had so we kind of glazed over it. I didn't take a lot of notes on it, but Milani and Cormier are chit-chatting throughout this mission about like needing to kill whatever is waiting in the final chamber. And I think that ghost, the friendly ghost that warns us off before we enter the ruins, names it as the Apocrypha.
Correct.
So and then they're like, well, we got to kill this Apocrypha. Clearly it's bad fucking news, right? Because they're pretty sure that it's linked to whatever these purple glyphs are, they're pretty sure that it's responsible for whatever killed the diggers. We don't know too much about it. All we know is we got to stop it, right?
Yeah.
This thing is like a stone guy. He is level 13. He's kind of like a stone elemental, but he looks a little bigger and badder.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm my first attempt at this. I'm level 9. I think my whole party is level 9 except Dunkro, who's maybe level 7.
Okay.
And Cormir, of course, is level 20. So I'm thinking like, oh well, Cormir's level 20. This is gonna be easy.
This should be fine.
This level 13 enemy wiped my party by himself. He killed Cormir.
Yeah.
He's level 13.
And the thing about the Apocrypha is that he will use a skill called Reform Carvings, if I'm not mistaken, and he will change professions. And so he changes from like Dervish to Mesmer to one other.
His Dervish abilities, he hit me for like 118 damage.
Yeah.
He hits like a fucking train.
Yeah, and and I think I probably had an easier time of it because I dinged 11 when I started this mission. And I think my heroes are like level 10 running through this.
Yeah.
Except for Milani, who's I think flipped to level 9.
Yeah, my second run through, everybody dinged level 10. So I had a little bit of a better time. I still on my because I had to basically run the whole mission again. That was great. And the fight was hard. Like I won, but it was hard. I was actually dead when my heroes killed him. And everyone died at least one time in the successful version of this fight for me. So yeah, really difficult fight for my dervish monk warrior team. I think you have a more diverse squad because you're Paragon, monk, warrior, dervish. The support abilities from the Paragon are probably shining a lot. And you've got some better skills available for your heroes. So this is gonna be go a little better for you, and it went fucking terribly for me.
Yeah,
he's hard. He's like the most overtuned level 13 character I've ever encountered.
He's like those. He's a little bit like those frigid scales.
He must have so I think he qualifies as a boss. I don't think he has a boss aura, but he certainly has double damage.
Okay.
Because the amount of damage he's hitting me and my party for is just absurd. I'll try to work it into the footage. You'll probably already have seen it if you're watching on the YouTube, but my first encounter with him, we died so quickly. Like, I haven't been roasted like that in a hot minute. I don't remember when the last encounter I had like this in these games was, but it was a long time ago. So yeah, I felt under-leveled and puny, but I managed to pull it out.
Well, that's good.
And there is, of course, since it's the end of a mission, there is a cutscene.
Another cutscene.
Yep.
Yes, we get Varish Asa. Morgan is reporting in and tells us, or tells her that she was correct, that the Sunspears are recruiting and training new leaders. And then she says that they're going to have to increase their forces as well. But Morgan disagrees with that idea because he's like, the Sunspears are here to protect all of Alona, all Alonian provinces. And she's like, well, then how come their headquarters are here rather than in Korna? And they start to kind of not bicker, but he's not one to really kind of back down. And he tells her that, he trusts the Sunspears because that's what he learned from her father. And now, she's like, yeah.
Is Tyria is too long ago to be her father, right? Tyria is like her great grandfather or something.
I would think so, yeah.
I don't know who her father was. I don't know if he's even ever named. Probably somewhere, but apparently he was a good leader. And Morgan is clearly another one of these characters who's clearly a little bit older. So he's kind of old guard, right?
Yes.
Whereas Varish is kind of the new blood. So you got that classic butting of heads.
Yeah. She's like, well, I'm going to do what my dad told me, and I'm going to protect my lands.
Yeah, because he says her father taught her to trust the Sunspears, and she says, my father taught me to protect my homeland. So there's kind of opposing ideals there.
Yeah.
And then Varish goes to meet with Kayet.
Yeah, another general shows up, Kayet, and then Varish dismisses Morgan. And
She's like, we
Kayet
got to talk about cult shit. Get lost.
Yeah, exactly. And Kayet gives me that fortune teller kind of vibe,
Kayet's creepy.
right? She even got the kind of creepy voice.
Mm-hmm.
And Kayet definitely, creepy voice. Here we go. Pretty clearly being signaled that Kayet is a bad guy.
Like an occult priestess of
Mm-hmm.
sorts.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, she thinks that Morgan is an old fool. And she then tells Varish that the Apocrypha has been destroyed by the Sun Spears, but not before she gained what we needed from it.
And doesn't she have like some sort of scroll in her hand?
She does, yes. And it's got a white kind of emblem on the scroll, not to be confused with the white mantle, but it's, giving me vibes of like, oh, I've seen white emblems on things before, and I knew then that it wasn't to be trusted, so here's my clue there. Second clue.
Yeah, white emblems, never a good sign.
Yes.
And then they say some pretty sus phrases.
Yes.
They go, praise Abaddon.
Yep.
And nightfall comes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It just seems bad, right?
Yeah.
But there's one more detail in this cutscene.
I don't remember what that other detail is.
There's a person that's creeping on him.
Oh yes, there's someone who's eavesdropping on them.
Yep, and they are a very uniquely modeled NPC, which probably means that they're going to be a hero at some point.
Yes, I was excited to see them, and I was like, oh, I'd forgotten that you were over here.
Yes.
So yes.
So there is somebody eavesdropping on the conversation, like doing like a
around the corner type thing.
Comical Ace Ventura version of eavesdropping behind a pillar. The most dramatic eavesdropping possible. So they're listening into the conversation. So that's kind of just a clue that like maybe not all is lost, right? We might have another ally that might help us with this. And then the cutscene ends and it drops us back in the Astralarium, I want to say. Maybe Champion's Dawn. Maybe back in Jokinder Diggings. I don't remember. Where does it drop us?
I don't remember it either. I thought it was Jokinder Diggings.
Maybe, yeah, because it drops us somewhere and there's another...
Actually, no, I think it dropped us in Kamadan.
Yeah, because we need to talk to First Spear Devad again for another quest, right?
Oh, it's possible. Yeah, I didn't talk to him. I just logged out because I was tired.
I was tired as well and logged out. We'll find out next episode, folks. But so yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the plot. Huge amount of plot this episode.
Yeah. Finally, we're getting somewhere, or it seems like we're at least starting to uncover mysteries.
I feel like this episode, more than probably any other episode of the show, I felt like deeply engaged with the story of the game. And that's not to say that the story of the other games is bad. I enjoyed both other games. It's like I said before, I think ANET really has their shit together in terms of doing a fantasy story. At this point, 3 games deep. And I think it really shows. I think Nightfall's kind of a cut above the others in terms of mainly detail. It's not even plot structure, because the plot structure is not different than Factions. It's just there's so much more detail to the dialogue and the world building and the characters. It makes the story so much more enjoyable to kind of engage with. And I think you did a little bit of side questing this episode, right?
I picked up a couple of side quests, because I went to go talk to Quarry Master Bohana, and after I'd finished leaving a legacy, I noticed that there was an NPC that I'd run past, a named NPC called Dajwa. And Dajwa had a quest marker, and when you talk to him, he's like, I am ready to propose to my girlfriend, and I was like, oh, here we go, another romancing quest.
Dude, ANET loves themselves a romance quest.
Yeah, well,
I've never played an MMO or like an RPG with so many romance quests.
Yeah. So Dajwa's ready to propose to his girlfriend, and he went and got a ring and everything, but then he was, attacked by harpies. and they took the shiny from him. And so he's like, I got to get the ring back. I've got to propose to my girl, like, I need help. I need to get my ring back. Can you help me?
He's just
go and
standing there
find-
in Champions Dawn like, hey, could you get my ring? Hey,
Yeah, pretty
help
much.
me.
Yeah, so you meet him outside at Cliffs of Dojak, and he's like, thank you so much. And then you've got to go and kill a bunch of scree harpies, and I didn't have the blessing because it was in a totally different direction, so I was like, well, whatever. So you go in there, and then you've got to investigate 5 harpy nests, and of course, where's the ring? In the last one.
I would. You mentioned having trouble getting the blessing. I would describe the positioning of these bounties relative to which monsters they're bounties for as hostile to the player.
Yes, it doesn't make any sense.
You will spawn out of a portal and you'll see bugs over there. You'll be like, oh, I'll go get the bug blessing, and the person by the shrine is a scale blessing.
Yeah, and I'm like, literally it makes no sense. Please give me something that actually makes sense.
Yeah,
and will actually help me.
It's like purposefully obtuse. It's very funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you finally do get the ring, the game tells you you picked up a slimy ring.
Gross.
And you give it to him, and he's like, "Oh, happy day! You think I can wash it off, and she'll notice the harpy smell?"
Didn't you have to pull a slimy goop bit off of a scale last episode too?
Yes, yeah. So this is like, slimy goopy stuff.
Miko the Paragon really gets her hands dirty.
Apparently. Yeah, so now, so he's happy, Joshua's happy, and now the only thing he's got left to face now is his girlfriend. And
the real final boss.
The real final boss, and hopefully she says yes with the washed off slimy ring.
Yeah, yeah, but dunk that in like some Coca-Cola or something, brother.
Yeah.
And what other quests were available to you, or was it just that one?
No, there was one more called, where is it? A Quarry Quandary. This is also from an NPC in Champions Dawn. Scrolly. Hang on, I gotta find my notes.
Would you say this stuff unlocks after the mission, or unlocks just after one of the primary quests?
Well, these both unlocked after leaving a legacy, so after a primary quest.
Okay, it must, like, story-wise, it must be like, oh, you've liberated the quarry, now you can do quarry things.
Yeah, exactly. And so you go, and there's an NPC that you've got to go and talk to. He's called Minor Tonabanza. Tonabanza.
Tony Danza.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Tiny
and he's
dancer.
like, yeah, and he's like, oh, every time I go and try to mine things, these mandragores show up.
And you're like, I already know how this goes.
Yeah, he's like, you don't believe me? Here, follow me and I'll show you. And so you go, you follow him, and some, of course, mandragores show up. You kill them. They're not hard. They're like level 7 and 8.
We're
like,
so far beyond these things now.
Yeah, he's like, you see, I'm not doing anything until this gets taken care of. I don't care if that means that the work's going to stop. And you're like, oh, okay. So you go back to Quarrymaster Bahana. You tell him, or not Bahana. Yeah, was it Bahana?
One of them Quarry Masters.
One of them Quarrymaster Bahana. And Quarrymaster Bahana's like, oh, well, since you've gotten back, things have gotten worse. There's now a Mandragore Queen in there. You got to go kill it. Otherwise, we can't move.
What level is the Mandragore Queen?
Like 13 or something like that. 12. Sorry, 12.
Okay.
Yeah, so you go, and Mandragore Queen, got some more Mandragores around it. They're not hard. When you walk out of Champion's Dawn, there is a small party of Sun Spears that are like, oh, well, we're going to go and take it out. But, I mean, if you want to come along, things will just be a little bit more interesting. And so you go, you kill the things, and the Mandragore Queen dies, and the small party of Sun Spears has nothing to say to you for, helping or actually doing all the killing. And then you go back to Quarrymaster Bahana, and they're like, hey, thanks.
I always
We've got the
wondered what
queen.
that group of suns is. That the group of sun spears that are like around the bonfire?
No. Oh, the ones that's like a large group of sun spears
Yeah, is that the one you're
over by
talking about?
the. No, that's just a grouping of three, and
Oh,
they're
'cause
just like right outside. They're right outside Championstone.
I've passed that like small village of sun spears several times now, and
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing?
they're if I remember correctly, they're involved in a quest, another side quest later on.
Okay, gotcha.
And I can't remember when it is that it unlocks, but I remember finally getting to interact with them on a more than like I remember I wanted to be a whatever your profession is, and you do a much better job that that they tell you.
That's so funny that every time you walk
Hmm.
by them, they're just like, it's not time yet. Keep
Yeah,
playing the main
yeah, keep
plot.
going.
We're come back
Yeah,
later.
yeah. So yeah, so that was that. It wasn't. I mean, it was interesting that you got to go back to the quarry, but there's not really. They weren't difficult, but
Right.
you get to see that you've made an impact. You've helped them clear the quarry, and now life can continue. But then they've got to deal with the roided up bugs
Yeah,
that are making lives difficult for them.
the flavor of being a sun spear, I feel like, is realized very well. And
Hmm.
this is something I think they do really well in factions. Also, is in the Xingje area, you're like the guy from Xingje Monastery that's like helping out around, right? And
Hmm.
we have the same thing going with like being a sun spear here. So it's a good it is a good reason for you to be able to just do busy work quests because it like makes
Hmm.
sense because that's kind of your job, right?
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
because a lot of times in RPGs it's really stupid that you're doing busy work quests because it makes no
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
But factions and Nightfall kind of set you up to be that guy who does that.
Hmm.
And so that adds some good context for it, like if you're like a role player or something, right?
Yeah,
So that's good stuff. Was that
yeah,
everything that you got up to this episode?
yeah. That was it.
All right, I might
Yeah.
do those quests because I would like to be higher level because I'm finding I'm really scared of where the difficulty is heading.
Yeah, and
Um,
they don't take very long, so I think you could knock them out really quick. If
yeah,
you pick them both up together, Quarry, Quandary, and Diamond in the Rough, you can just do one after the other and then zone back to go get the other one and then have to run all the way back to get the queen.
yes, I think I may do that. Because me and Milani have movement speed skills, so we'll just
Yay,
pound
there you
through
go.
those.
There you
Um,
go.
I need what we're gonna do next episode. We were gonna do a quest chain out of the Astralarium this episode, but after I played through the plot and it was so chunky, I decided to just talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
There is a quest chain out of the Astralarium now that we've done Jokin or Diggings that I want to tackle next episode.
Yeah.
And it's like a big one, so I'm excited
Mm-hmm.
about that. I don't know if there's going
Mm-hmm.
to be a mission next episode because I don't have like the Nightfall early game super memorized.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look at the like wiki and map out what we're going to do for next episode. But definitely we're going to visit the Astralarium
Mm-hmm.
and take some quests that are finally available there.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys have that to look forward to. I'm
Yeah.
really liking Nightfall so far. How about you, Miko?
Yeah. It's a good time so far.
Yeah,
So yeah,
we're
fun.
having a grand old time, and we're going to continue doing so in episode 30, which will be coming out in a couple weeks. Until then, Miko, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Inky Sticks on your social media platform of choice.
Awesome, awesome. And guys, we're at Tyria now on Twitter, and on YouTube, and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's all the things we're on. If I missed any, just
Blue Sky. Did you say Blue
Blue
Sky? Because
Sky.
we're there.
That's the one. I was like, I thought we had 5. So yeah, check us out on all those platforms, guys, and we will be seeing you in the next episode. I hope everybody has a lovely 2 weeks until the next one.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.